Well, what is up? Welcome back. We are here to talk about all sorts of fun Run Disney news
Yeah.
because Run Disney decided to drop both of the Expo passes for Marathon Weekend and Disneyland Weekend at one time.
Yep.
And we finally have seen the Coast to Coast medals as well.
Yeah. You said passes, but you meant guides.
I did
Expo
mean
passes
guides.
are not out yet. Don't freak out.
Yes, Expo Guides was the thing that I meant. So all sorts of fun stuff there to wrap or go through. And of course, we did put some link out to some questions on Instagram as well. A couple people had some things that we're going to hit on. We're going to try to not be too overly comprehensive on either one race in particular, though I'm sure we'll probably talk quite a bit about Disneyland because there's a lot more new information. Walt Disney World, we do have like some course changes and stuff that we can talk
Probably
about.
The only real big change for Disney World.
Yeah, other than like there is still like some information missing too, a couple other little changes. But if you guys do have questions about any of that, feel free to drop it in the comments as well. We'll go through and kind of answer questions as they come through. But we don't have really too much to hit on before we get into it. Usually, the last couple times we've had races and all sorts of fun stuff to kind of add on to the beginning of this. But
yeah, it's only been what,
It
4
has
or
only
5
been-
days since we last run here.
yeah, I
Of
guess
course.
we did only do that a couple days ago.
I've run once since then, and that was this morning, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, I've done a couple runs. We're getting back into it.
Yeah, we fell off of it a little bit. Although I was doing the bike a lot more because I like re-upped my subscription and I was just in bike mood.
Yeah, she's talking about that Peloton.
Yeah. I took a payment vacation from them for a little while.
Yeah, but why don't we go ahead and we'll talk about the medals.
Mm-hmm.
We've been waiting for the Coast to Coast medal. Of course, we've seen all the other medals for the other races for both Marathon and Disneyland now. We've talked about them already. Well, probably if we do like some separate videos, maybe going into Dopey and then Disneyland Weekend, we'll go back into those. And of course, we'll talk about them in our recaps. But these were like the last set of medals we were waiting for. And I think one of the big things people were waiting for was whether or not this was going to be the classic Coast to Coast medal type or not. And we did find out it's not. And people are really divisive about these Coast to Coast medals.
Well, I think the people who are talking the loudest are the people who don't like them, which typically is what happens when anything new happens. The people who are maybe on the more negative side are going to be louder. But I think back to like every single race weekend when medals are released, literally every single one, there's a group of people who think they're the ugliest things in the world, and there's a group of people who love them. So I'm erring on the side of I think they're cute. I like this style. I do appreciate the like sadness that comes deviating from that classic thing that happened so many years in a row. Granted, I have to keep in mind that I do have a old Coast to Coast medal, and a lot of people, Run Disney, I feel like kind of boomed in popularity right around the time Coast to Coast went away. And I think a lot of people are new to Run Disney or didn't get a chance to do it back then, are now able to do it and they're disappointed that they don't get what everyone else has. But I don't have the Dopey medals from the year you did Dopey that I like love and wish I could have, but
Cool.
That doesn't make the medals that I got the next year any less like special to me. So that's how I think of it. I also am like, this is literally like, Run Disney doesn't do like anything that's free anymore. This is literally something that you get for free. Like you pay for the 2 races. You don't have to pay anything extra to get this. And I got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, you are paying quite a bit.
For those 2 races, yes. But this is something that,
Let's say included,
it's
as Christy
included.
likes to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand why people are upset. I do think that the partner statue medals are definitely like
Iconic.
really timeless.
Yeah.
Like I think those would just always look good. They look like a very classic medal, and they're very. I don't want to say they're simple because they were very detailed.
Yeah.
What
Do you
did
have
the
a
old
picture handy, or
ones?
do you want me to go get?
Would you go and grab one? Go and grab yours real quick.
Bam! While I'm gone.
Yeah, so she's gonna go and grab that real quick. I should have grabbed it or put it in the slides before. They are cool. I don't dislike these though. I actually think they're pretty cool. They just match the theme, and one thing that is a little bit different is the old coast to coasts, I don't believe were dated. So they were just always the same coast to coast year to year, where these are very specifically dated 2024. And we know coast to coast, unlike the Run Disney season, is coast to coast tracks it by yearly. So you have to do your challenge within 2024. It's not like how Wine and Dine is tacked on to the end of the last season.
Mm-hmm. I can do.
Okay.
So this is what they used to look like. I think we got it there. Ooh. And so for most years, the medals looked pretty like exactly like this. There's no year or anything on there. There is a year, however, on
the ribbon,
the
right?
ribbon portion, and of course it's backwards. So this is from 2015. It just says 2015 on the ribbon and coast to coast. On the 10th anniversary year, the medal was slightly different, and it said 10th anniversary for the coast to coast challenge on the bottom. Then they did, when Tinkerbell and Princess still existed together, they gave you, I believe you got this one and the pink one.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, but they had this, but it was pink, where the blue, it was pink. And that was the special medal you got for that one. And then, of course, they did the Kessel Run challenge for Star Wars. Briefly, did they only do that 1 year? Or did they have that for 2?
It might have been 2 years, but
I think with that one you did get both. You got the Kessel Run challenge and this one. So
yeah,
I get it.
Anyways, though, point being, these are very clearly like dated, and they're kind of within the design of what they posted for Coast to Coast. So we're probably just going to see new medals every year for Coast to Coast, as opposed to just the same medal every year.
Which kind of tracks, because I was thinking, if you think back to, I don't know if they're ever going to do this again, but the Castaway Key Challenge, that medal used to be almost the same year to year, and then the year we did it was very different. So I feel like maybe Run Disney is heading in
away from that. Well, and even, princess medals were very much the same
medals
year
used to
after
always
year.
be the glass slipper on the thing, and then I can't remember. Oh, the diamond with like the little like diamond insert in it. Yeah, they used to be very, very similar year to year. So it's just the new times.
And of course, there are 2 different medals here because there's 2 different tracks you can take. If you were doing Walt Disney World to Disneyland, or Walt Marathon Weekend to Disneyland weekend, so these back-to-back weekends coming up here, you're getting this square one.
Well, that's not confirmed. That is what everyone thinks is going to happen, because this one seems a little bit more plussed than the other one, but that has not been confirmed by anyone.
Pretty sure. I feel like you're getting that one.
Yes, but I'm just saying we don't know that for sure.
Okay. That's fine. And then the other track will be this one. Again, they could be either or, but this is doing Disneyland race weekend or Halloween half, and then any other race or 10 miler or half marathon or greater combined with that.
Yep. And if you do both the Disneyland half and Halloween half, and then 2 other Walt Disney Worlds, you can get both of them.
Yep.
Disney did confirm that.
Yep. But why don't we go ahead and move on? We can talk about, some of these different changes and news things we have kind of going on here. Like I said, not a whole lot for marathon weekend, especially change-wise. We have a couple little course tweaks and stuff here. Expo is pretty much the same layout that we've seen in the past before. It's going to be that 3 building setup. There we go. Where A is your Run Disney merchandise, B is the Expo hall with the vendors, and C is the packet pickup. The only kind of like small change off of that is for Dopey Challenge. You used to have like a separate room for Dopey Challenge. Now everything is on that lower level, which I mean, there's plenty of room down there. I don't really think it's a huge change.
Yeah, definitely not an issue. I think the only reason they put Dopey in that other room usually is because once everyone is there that first day and picks up Dopey, like you can just pack it up because most everyone's gonna come. Whereas now they're gonna have like a big empty, unusable, or like not needed space in the room that they don't need.
Yep, and then the Run Disney merchandise, they are doing the same thing where they did for Wine and Dine, where the pictures look like they're going to be kind of in the same room, same area. It looks like maybe this section is going to be kind of situated a little bit differently, but it's still the same basic concept where your pictures are basically kind of to the right once you get in by the merchandise area, rather than by the exit. Not too much else to go into that. Funny enough, I did not put any of the race maps on there.
Which is the big thing that's changed. Are you going to try to pull them up quickly?
Yes, I did have... There it is. I was going to say, I knew I had the event guide open for us still. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest change... What is your favorite Dopey merch you have gotten? Ooh, favorite Dopey merch.
I really like this hat.
I do like this hat.
I don't think they had a lot that I had wanted last year when I did Dopey other than the hat. I don't think I got anything. Anything else? I didn't get like a sweatshirt or anything.
No, I have the purple sweatshirt from my first Dopey.
From this year,
But I like the shirt a lot that year. I wear that one.
The one that we got with the race?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a couple of the pins too. I think I have the Dopey metal replica from last year too.
That's typically what we like to go for. We really like the metal replicas.
Yeah, I mean Dopey merch is always kind of so hit or miss on what's going to be left by the time you get in there, because that is always almost always the first thing to kind of go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think both years though, like the shirts and the medals for Dopey have just been like A+. So that's always been really cool.
So. I really like them. I don't think there's too much that changed on the 5K course or the 10K course. We're pulling it up.
Really, not too much here on the 5K course. Pretty standard. Actually, I think it's almost exactly the same to what we saw at Wine and Dine. Only difference is you do get a little bit through World Celebration. So you are going to go right down the center, kind of by the new like lit up area, and then you'll swing around. It looks like either you're going to go, I think, around behind where the the Dreamer's Point statue is.
Yeah.
And then you do get to run that little point through Guardians.
Again.
So probably an improvement to the 5K course. Not that I think most people really had any complaints about it.
Less walls, and since the 5K... it's going to be dark, I think, the whole time for everybody. That'll be really pretty, running through that celebration area.
Yeah, absolutely. That area at night, like, lit up is pretty cool. Only thing that's weird is there is, like, some elevation changes and stuff in there. And some, like pavement changes.
They might put boards and stuff out the way they do, like, the boardwalk.
Maybe. It's not quite to that extent. I don't know that they would go that far. There's just, like, some weird... It's got, like, some patterned... like sidewalk and stuff. Nothing that we haven't seen or ran on before. Yeah, not too much there. Like I said, I'm not going to try to super dive into every little change here. We can go back through and talk a little bit more about Dopey in another show. We want to just kind of hit a little bit on both the weekends and the coast to coast. If you are doing coast to coast, kind of let us know what you're doing, what your plan is. We do have a couple questions about like staying there. Obviously, that's where, again, a lot of the differences are going to be for this weekend. One big change for Marathon Weekend too is all of the races, like Wine and Dine, are starting from the parking lot. We are not doing the walkout to Epcot Center Drive, which I'm kind of bummed about. I was actually looking forward to
Yeah.
that setup. I like that setup. There's more space out there. It's way easier to just be in your corral and everyone is already lined up.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's quite as much like pushing around to try to get up, and they don't snake everyone through this zigzag to get you to the start situation.
Yeah. It is really, so you had to deal with it kind of for the first time at Wine and Dine. I've had to do it pretty much every time we have one of those parking lot starts where you have to do like two basic like U-turn. Well, you have to do a hard left turn, another hard left turn, and then a full U-turn to get into like the starting chute. And it is really, really annoying because you just the shuffle and the walk and the slow walk.
It's like stop and go.
And then, but it is so much nicer when you get that road start. But,
Yeah. Well, and once we get into the half and the full, you've got like this corral, like the last corral or two just aren't open yet. And now instead of walking right into the corral, they want you to go around the back of the bathrooms again.
mm-hmm.
And you go around that behind the stage. So that is something that's a little bit different if you're used to RunDisney before and you're used to the Epcot start area. You would typically, like, once you get in, you can cut a left, you can go right to the corrals there on the left. Now you got to go like all the way across the parking lot where the big square of porta potties is, kind of across from gear check.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going around those porta potties behind the stage and into.
Do they have like the start, like
the map section?
Map,
yeah.
And it has the arrow that says that you have to go that way?
Yeah.
Oh, darn it. I was hoping that what I was hoping was if they still wanted to keep the last corral like further out, that they would let everyone go in kind of the normal way and then have that corral snake around. Which, I mean, still stinks for a significant portion of people, but it doesn't make sense in my brain. I don't understand why we're doing it.
But yeah, a couple little changes here to the 10K course. I love this 10K course. I love the, like, around the full area around Crescent Lake and then the full circle around World Showcase.
I have bad news.
What's that?
We're not running.
I know we're not running the 10K.
Seeing the maps did make me a little bummed out.
Yeah. Anyways, though, so it's the start. You swing left down the entrance to Epcot, and then you do that quick, sharp U-turn there where you get onto Epcot Center Drive, and then merge off it with that quick turnaround. And once you're basically going to follow that like you're finishing the half marathon around the back kind of service entrance to Epcot. You get in by Journey to Imagination, go around World Showcase a bit, and then you get Crescent Lake there. Boardwalk area, and then you get around the rest of World Showcase. And then this one does not go through the
Celebration.
World Celebration there. You're kind of cutting along Connection. You do get to go around the Little Guardians area, though, which I think is pretty cool. And then it's that finish that we've seen where you're going out the backside by Test Track, and you're going to run along the Guardians building into the finish. So a couple little changes there, nothing too crazy though. Again, if you guys have any questions about the courses, like I said, we will eventually get into Disneyland. We do have, if you ask questions on Instagram, we will get into those as well. Let me pull up the half marathon.
The one we're actually doing.
Yes, this is
and
the one that we're doing. Yes. I do. The half is.
I think we won the race changes.
There's some cool stuff going on. We'll go ahead and start talking about. We'll talk about the start area changes on this one because this will be very similar to the half. Ooh, I need to be on this one, I think. Start area. Nope, that did not make any difference. I was trying to zoom that in on here. But anyways, so basically what I was saying is you now go out around this little backside here to get into the corrals, whereas before you used to just be able to walk right in by where the food and beverage was. So now you go out and all the way around there. It's really not a huge deal. It's just kind of a weird change from what people are used to.
The only other thing is maybe there's some kind of unknown to us, like, flow problem with people going through the food and beverage. Maybe they needed some kind of, like, spread out people, something or other. I don't
I
know.
don't know that.
It's gonna bother me until I figure out why they do this. So I'm gonna keep speculating.
I don't think there is a very good answer for it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But once we get into this half course here, again, I should have prepped this onto my slide so that I could zoom in a little bit. But we do have a couple little changes here. Being that we're starting on the Epcot's parking lot, you got to do a little loop onto Epcot Center Drive. That's going to be a little bit of an incline, and then you're going to get kind of right back off to get onto World Drive. This should be fine. That road is plenty big there. I really don't think there should be too many issues with that. It is kind of a boring part there. And then you're going to be on Walt Disney World Drive all the way to mile 3 till you get down through the parking lot. I feel like the parking lot used to like zigzag a little bit more, and now you're kind of running like straight down the center there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because you used to kind of go left and you would go in the parking lot kind of towards the center of it, and then you would run a zigzag through it.
Where the big pile of dirt is now.
Well, you always ran around like the big pile of dirt. It just, you would run along Walt Disney World Drive.
Yeah.
World Drive, sorry. And then pretty much all the areas through Magic Kingdom have stayed pretty much the same. We don't get that Adventureland section like we saw in the marathon. It's also gone for the marathon course if we've looked at that already. But in through Magic Kingdom, you get your, iconic down World Drive. I've said World Drive too many times. Down Main Street. You hang that right and you go into Tomorrowland. Down around into Fantasyland. You go around the backside of Fantasyland and all the way out through the castle for your iconic pick there. And then down, and you hang that right into Liberty Square, and then down around into Frontierland. And then you do that little loop that takes you basically right up to Big Thunder Mountain, and then down past what used to be Splash. And then you exit out the backside there. That takes you to mile 6 right out the side there. Like I said, pretty similar mileage there. You're going to be running up along the highway all the way 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 10, you're going to swing up the overpass, hit 11, and you're doing that little loop to get back into Epcot. Very similar to what I just said for the 10K. You go in that backside by Journey into Imagination. And then here you do get one pretty cool change that we've been asking for. So you are running straight across, and we're getting this little bit of out and back towards World Showcase, which used to be like pretty iconic for the races. You used to go in Epcot and you would run down the one side of the main entrance of the main path and then turn around and run towards Spaceship Earth. So you are getting a little bit of that World Celebration right towards the center. You're hanging a right towards Connection. But then we do get a different finish. We get more of the classic finish here, where we're going right out by Spaceship Earth, which I'm pretty excited for.
I'm so excited. It's such a little thing now that we're talking about it. Like, it's like less than half a mile of a little change, but I don't have to run by the Guardians building.
Yeah, you don't have to run along the Forever Guardians building. I love this finish. We've been asking for this style of finish to come back. And now it's not permanently back, it looks like, because it's not consistent through this weekend, which is kind of interesting. But this is definitely like the coolest finish section for the whole weekend here.
I don't know why I love it so much, because all you're doing is just running by the bathrooms that are there. But I don't know, maybe
something like doing that full run up to Spaceship Earth right before you hit that mile 13 there is much more interesting than being at mile 12 and a half. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to hang a right. Now we're going to run by the dumpsters and run towards the blue building. Now we're running next to the blue building.
Yeah.
Now we're running around the blue building.
Well, and I know, I always said, I don't love that Guardian stretch because it feels so long. And part of the reason it feels so long is that you used to have this, where you, got out of Epcot and then you were, done. Whereas you kind of leave Epcot, you like leave by Test Track, and then you still have like what feels like a good stretch to go.
I mean, it really is like half a mile, basically, if not longer. Steve, good to hear from you. We will see you real soon.
Sure.
And Major Ducky, always good to see you as well. Yeah, I think that's about all I got for the half. Like I said, we are pretty excited for that course. I think we scored.
Yeah, it'll be
On
interesting
the,
to see if Princess does that too, because typically Princess and Walt Disney World are very similar, if not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it really all depends and comes down to this, like, starting an
Group
Epcot situation.
Yeah.
And, I don't make those decisions there. Hopefully they go smoothly, but if they don't go smoothly, maybe they will reconsider changing that as well.
Yeah.
Marathon course. This one is going to be, actually, let me see if I can do this differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
There we
better.
go.
We figured it out.
Sorry, give me one sec. I am just switching to move. Anyways, yeah, so.
Hi, Dad. Thanks for watching.
Sorry, I'm struggling here. And... Oh, I know what I gotta do.
I should have had some jokes on deck to fill the time.
Should have had some jokes ready.
I did not
there
have
we
any
go.
jokes ready. Okay.
Okay, that is much better.
Yeah.
So we got the marathon course. I said there wasn't a lot of changes. There are some changes here. The not starting on Epcot Center Drive really does throw the start for this for a loop and makes the Epcot area look very like convoluted because there's a lot of going back and forth here. But like I said, you are getting that Epcot start and you are immediately going to be swinging around onto Epcot Center Drive. Patrick, good luck. Yes. First marathon and Dopey. I did not realize it was your first marathon. We were chatting on Instagram earlier. That's a fun one. But you'll be good. Lots of people do it. Hey, John. I just run the tangent. Face freeze eyebrow. Unlike Sarah, who only runs on the left side all the time. Only the left side.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We've heard a lot of like people say they're like getting ready to do their first marathon in Dopey like this upcoming year. It's been like a pretty frequent thing. And one, that's such a huge thing to tackle. I mean, we both, quote, just did the marathon when we did our first marathon. And then we did a Dopey the year after that, each of us. And it's crazy. Like, it's intense, but
yes, but it's great. I love it. I've said many times it kills me not to be doing it this year, but to do the whole coast to coast Disneyland thing, that's the sacrifice we had to make. Cool. Yeah. Yes, that will be cool, and that'll be a very cool weekend as well. Yeah. But we have this start into this loop here, and you're going basically back in the backside of Epcot there, and you were doing let me see Mexico. Here. Yep, you go in, enter by Mexico. Sorry, there's like a lot going on with this little map over here.
Lots of little red lines.
But you're going over towards Journey into Imagination, and you're going out that side, and you're doing what we just talked about for the half backwards, which is kind of cool. I don't think we've ever gone like that way around that area. And you're going out and around, and you're doing this whole, basically the last part of the half marathon that I just talked about backwards. Which still isn't particularly new for the marathon. We've seen this, into the Epcot first section for a couple years now. And you're mile 5, 6. And here into mile 7, you're going through the other side of the parking lot. That's a little bit more of what I was talking about. You get some of that like zigzag through there by the TTC. Always a fun area for spectators. Yeah, lots of first marathons and Dopeys here, which was kind of a trend for people that came up and chatted with us.
Yeah, it's so cool. Fun, finish, and not be injured. That was my goal last year, too.
All three good things.
And it worked, and it's great, and that's a good way to do it.
And then Alex says, "Great meeting you, Lake, and everyone at Wine and Dine. Looking forward to first marathon and Dopey as well." Oh my goodness, so many
Everyone's
first
so much
marathon and
cooler than
Dopey.
us.
I mean, I would still stand by my advice of,
Yeah.
do a marathon first, but
I'm glad I did.
tons and tons of people do first marathon, first Dopey, so it's not like it's impossible by
Yeah.
any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, so once you get through the TTC, a pretty similar section in through Magic Kingdom.
Except you get to go by Tron.
Oh yeah, you do. You go around that little back course there.
Yep.
Oh, that's super
And you
cool.
go
I love
through
that.
Circus Land. What's that? Storybook Circus.
Yep. Yep, I totally missed that the first time I looked at it. Yeah, so that's really cool. Again, more reasons why I'm upset to not be doing Dopey.
Yeah.
That's okay though.
That maybe hopefully they'll do something like that another marathon year. I don't know if I'll ever be fast enough to see it in the dark, but you definitely are always fast enough to see it in the dark.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that is interesting with the changes to the Epcot, typically you actually hit mile 10 right before you get to Magic Kingdom. So you're like 2 miles kind of ahead of where you typically were on this marathon schedule, because once you got out of Magic Kingdom, you were like halfway. So you hit this earlier, so more people will actually hit it darker as well, which
true.
is something to consider. However, it was always kind of a fun, like, oh yeah, I just got through Magic, we're halfway. That's not quite the case now.
Unless you do what I do, and anytime before you hit mile 13, you say, I'm halfway. And then anytime after you hit mile 13, you say, I'm almost done in your brain. It helps. It helps, I think. Because that's literally how I get through all the races.
But yeah, so pretty cool section through Magic Kingdom, though, getting to go by Tron and through Storybook there. And then the kind of finish through the castle and out around Liberty Square, Frontierland is all pretty much similar as what we've seen. Nothing too crazy there. Then we are on to kind of the slog of the race. So you got mile 10 to 11 to 12 is going to take you to the back road. This section is cool during the old Wine and Dine and Star Wars course where you're at the beginning of the race and you're fresh. This section's a bit of a slog in the middle of a marathon, not gonna lie, especially once the sun is up. There's trees and stuff, but it's really not like super shady back there.
That's a part where if you are, and I don't remember like what my pace was at that point in the race, but the sun does hit you right in the face when you're running on that part. I remember that was where it was hard to see, and the sunglasses did nothing because they were fogged up, and then I couldn't see anything, and then the sun was shining in my face and I couldn't see anything, so we were just vibing.
Yeah, so you do hit mile 13 halfway, kind of right in the middle of that road. Yeah.
They usually do, I will say though, on this little like back stretch, they do have like stuff out there. Like last year, I remember that was around where like Powerline was on this road.
Powerline, typically they have the old ride vehicles out at the
That's a
one
cool
section, and there's usually like a good amount of characters out there too. Like, there's not absolutely nothing. There's usually, like, music and this TV screens and stuff. But it is a long section kind of between parks.
Yeah. What I was going to say, I don't remember if it's, like, shaded, but I feel like
It's
there's
not.
lots of trees.
There's trees, but they're, like, kind of cut away from the road, so it is kind of open. I think unless you hit it, like, pretty early, it's going to be pretty much
I just
beaten
remember
down
the
on
trees.
you. And then the Animal Kingdom section is pretty similar to what we've seen for marathons in the past. Nothing super crazy going on here. You get in around mile 15 there, and then it's pretty much through Africa along the Asia section, pretty much the backside of the park around by Everest. If it's open, that's typically your chance to ride Everest there. And then out and around Dinosaur there, RIP.
Yeah, they'll probably have that out for the marathon. That's one that they usually typically always have out.
Yep, it's almost always been in the same spot. It should be right actually around mile 12, somewhere between 12 to 13. It's like a whole display, and I think it's in both my marathon videos where it's that. There's a Mr. Toad ride. There's another like rocket ship car that I can't quite pinpoint what it goes to. There's like 5 or 6 different like
If
ride vehicles,
if
but
I
the
was
20,000th
looking,
League sub is like the
yeah,
big.
if I was looking at like your video of it, I could pick them all out, but I can't picture it in my head right now.
Yeah, I think one might be like an old Astro Orbiter
That's
vehicle
what I
or
was
something like
thinking.
that. But yeah, it is always a cool scene there. You get out of Animal Kingdom, and then again, you kind of do this little like backtracking section, which is kind of cool because typically you're almost always going to see someone you know
Mm-hmm.
kind of running back through the side. You get to exchange your hellos
Yeah.
and all of that.
Both
Um,
marathons I did. I did see people I knew, running. Usually they were ahead of me.
yeah.
But
And then probably the worst, like 2.5 miles of the whole course here coming up. Running up, I forget what this road is here. But this is like a slight incline all the way. And depending on the time, the sun is like right, pretty much, you're running right towards the sun. Or if it's later, it's beating right on you. It's very hot and gross. This is typically, if they're going to have
ice
yeah,
and
like
sponges.
ice or sponges or something. That's where it's been in the past, typically right around that corner where that med station is, right kind of after 17 there. And then once you hit 19, you're by Coronado and you
Western Way.
Western Way. Yep, good
John,
old Western
coming
Way.
in
Thank you,
clutch.
John. And then once you hit 19, you get the most fun part of this whole race. You get to run in a square around the Blizzard Beach parking lot.
What is this absurd shape?
It's just the same because you got to go in like along that path.
Yeah. It looks like you like cross over each other almost. Yep. A hat. It's usually what I go for.
Well, okay, so
Yeah,
yes.
you see what I'm saying?
Well, it looks weird because typically you would run up to the mini golf course, then run back, and then run in and around. And so you're actually going to run it backwards this year compared to other years.
Okay.
So I think we used to go counterclockwise around it. This year you'll go clockwise around it.
Oh, I see how they're
Because
doing
you
it.
do, we're getting onto Osceola this year instead of going back towards Hollywood directly because they got to add that extra 1.5 miles in that we lost at the beginning of the race.
Yep, I see. I
Yeah.
see the stretch. So you won't, because typically you could see people coming back, like where the 19 is on the map.
Yeah,
But
you
we
get
don't
some
go that way.
crossover.
Okay.
Yep.
I understand.
Yep. So you are swinging back over onto Osceola then, and then back onto World Drive. It's going to take you to 22. This section really wasn't too bad during Wine and Dine. Went by pretty quick. There is some elevation because you're going up a ramp and then right back down on that side. And then you're swinging, and once you hit 22, you've got a lot of kind of park and cool sections, lots of crowds, pretty much all the way through into the finish here.
Yeah, I have a question. What resort is that at the very bottom?
All Stars.
All Stars. Okay.
Yep. That's like all the way on the very bottom, pretty much kind of right by our faces here.
Yeah.
That's what she was asking about.
Because I knew that was Coronado and kind of in the middle there, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah. But Hollywood is the very quick, like, in and out section. They really want to minimize your impact because the park's pretty much open for anyone who's going to be running through this at this point. So you kind of run, and I don't think they have a close-up here for us.
No, but you run.
Oh. Let me see here.
We're lost.
There we go. I got this.
Yeah, it's the typical Phantasmic.
Yeah, looks like you run in by Phantasmic, and then you're just running down Sunset onto the main boulevard and out the side there.
Some people, I think, try to ride Tower.
You can, yeah, typically you can try to ride Tower at this point. And then you're running out along the parking lot there. Typically a pretty good spot for cheering.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was during the marathon last year, we had people like that was where the crowd was waiting to get in.
Yeah.
So there was like hundreds of people with like nothing to do but cheer, which was kind of cool. And then you're running along the path that takes you to Boardwalk. You're going around the Boardwalk side there and then into Epcot. And you go basically a loop around World Showcase. Has Tower of Terror been going during any of your...
I'm pretty sure I've seen people ride it. And I
Yes.
know I remember seeing day guests going to it while I was running. So, yes.
Yeah, I can't remember if we could have done it because, like I said, I don't think the park was quite open
when you ran
when
through.
I ran it through it last year.
Yeah.
But we were moving pretty good last year. But I
It
think
was
the year
when
before
I
it
ran
was.
through. Like 4 hours after him.
But yes, there are people who have ridden Tower
Yeah.
during the marathon. It is usually possible and accessible. And then after that, you run that loop. You're going around World Showcase. If the park's open, this is where a lot of people are going to be grabbing their margaritas and grabbing their beers for
It's
their.
still the funniest thing. I can't remember whether it was last year or the year before, but it was the funniest thing when we got to the Guardian stretch, that backside, how many abandoned, like almost full drinks I saw sitting there, and I didn't understand it because in my mind I'm like, aren't you wanting the finish line picture with it? Why'd you leave it here? I don't know what that was about, but I saw a lot.
Yep. And then you are finishing. Funny enough, you do get a little bit of a loop through World Celebration there, which I'm kind of surprised, being that it's the marathon and like that section is going to be closed like all day because of it then.
I'm wondering if it's for the photo op.
Maybe. Still, I mean, that's cool. Like, that's awesome for everyone running the marathon. And then you're going out, and pretty typical finish here where you're going out and around the Guardians building. And then that's it. You ran your marathon and your Dopey, and marathon weekend kind of comes to the close for you there.
Yep.
Do we have any questions? Marathon weekend?
Marathon weekend specific. We had a question about what's good pacing advice for Dopey to reserve energy, which I think is a really great question.
Typically, we would say the 5K is fun. You know, it's pretty easy. You can do whatever for the 5K, have a good time. 10K, 10K again, take it easy. You know, maybe go back a little bit. The half marathon, I think people are really tempted to be like, oh, I'm going to like walk this or run walk this or go way slower.
Yeah.
You really don't want to go too slow on the half marathon because you don't want to be out there all day baking in the sun, getting even more dehydrated. Not to say that you want to race your way through the half marathon, but you really you want to move at a decent pace that isn't going to let you be out there all day. Because if you spend 6 hour, I don't know what the cutoff is
For the
half, but if
the
you spend
half.
like 5 hours out there and then you got to turn around and run the marathon
your
again.
cutoff is going to be closer to 4 hours because typically they get everyone out within an hour of the first corral. So that would give you maybe, I don't know if I've ever seen a 4.5, maybe. They've been a lot more diligent about sweeping
And cutting off,
since
yeah.
we've come back. So I would say 4 hours probably.
Yeah, but typically your 5K and the 10K sweeping probably won't be as much of a concern. So like I said, feel free to kind of ease it back on those. Take those days pretty easy. And you really just want to make sure you're going into the marathon fresh, hydrated, and fueled.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest tips, even outside of how you run the races yourself, but like pacing yourself the rest of the days as well. Having like light walks around so that your blood stays flowing, but drinking plenty of water, eating well, and we are obviously big early bedtime proponents.
Yeah.
Getting lots of sleep, I think, has been like a huge factor in how we feel good at the races.
Patrick asked, what time do you usually wake up on race days? We're usually somewhere between 2 and 2:30, depending on the race.
Yeah, usually the 5K, 10Ks were 2:30 to 2:45. Depends on where we're staying and what our plan is to get there. Halves and the full, we're usually closer to 2.
Yep. Yep, and we're a lot of times winding down to get in bed at like usually 6, sometimes 7 o'clock.
Winding down, I got in bed at 4. But I was just tired that day, and I was like, I don't have anything else to do. I'm gonna get in bed. Let's see. And then I think you talked to this person about their pace.
Um, yes, I believe this is Patrick.
I thought this was Patrick, but I was not positive. That is an
Time to be
awesome
back to
pace.
the room at 4 each day. Yep, that is
I think
pretty
that's
reasonable.
a really good plan, and you don't have to go to sleep. Just relax, watch a movie. I think it's get your stuff ready for the morning. Make sure that's a great time to like lay out your stuff, because if you realize you've forgotten something or you need something, you still have plenty of time to go out and grab something. So it.
Yeah.
If you're making a whole vacation of it and you want to do the parks and go crazy, I mean, I understand that too. Like, we live here and we can go to the parks. Well, we wish we could go to the parks whenever we want. Reality of being an adult is we don't get to go as much as we wish we could.
But it's still an option for us. Sorry. This question was, I run an average of an 8:30-ish pace for my long runs. What should I expect for course crowds if I get A or B? We kind of hit on this already. We would expect you'll probably be Corral A. Towards pretty much, 5K, you're going to have pretty much crowds through the whole thing. I don't want to, it's really not going to like spread out too much because you're in the park the whole time. It's not going to be like super crazy or anything by any means, that front. I think especially with the 5K, people tend to be pretty chill. It's not timed or anything.
Yeah. I think the only way you wouldn't have a huge crowd in the 5K is if you are in A, you're at the front, and you race it. But
yeah. Again, though, it would be pretty reasonable for the most part. 10K, kind of the same thing. Once you get like mile 3 in, you're going to be pretty good and spread out, which will pretty much follow through for the rest of the races. But as you get longer in the distance up to the half, you're going to increase in the number of people. And then typically the marathon will be of similar-ish size, sometimes a little bit smaller than the half marathon. So the half marathon at that pace, there's going to be people around you, but that is actually very close to the pace that we'll typically run in my videos. I think the marathon video, we were pretty close to that 8:30 pace. So that would be pretty much a great representation of about what that crowd level looks like. But typically once you get into those deeper miles, like, 4 or 5, you're going to be pretty good and spread out. Once you get to like 7 or 8, there's still always going to be people around. There's, anywhere 13 to 15,000 people running it. But yeah, you really, typically the first like 2 or 3 character stops, if you want to hit those ones, there may be a line there unless you're going to like absolutely sprint out of the corral first wave to get there. We saw that at Wine and Dine. We wanted to stop for some of the first pictures, and we did wait a couple minutes to get some of those first few ones there.
Yeah.
But if you skip like that first 1 or 2, typically after that, there's like no lines.
And I feel like Dopey does a decent job because they do repeat some characters at races. So if you get one at the 5K, 10K, you may end up finding one at the half that you already have that you don't need to do again.
I don't remember seeing a lot of crossover though.
Maybe not.
I don't remember. I would have to go back and like check
as
that.
Someone who has no pictures with any characters, I don't know why I feel like that. But maybe I'm thinking of, I feel like we had lots of like Goofy and Max. So maybe we just saw Goofy and Max a lot last year because it was the 90s thing. I could be wrong.
Hi, Wendy. We just wanted to say good luck to you.
Yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Wendy's
you
gonna
can do it.
Rock it.
Hard things are hard. Marathons are hard, but we can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think unless you guys have any other questions about Marathon Weekend specifically, we'll probably kind of transition over into Disneyland a bit. Like I said, we have a lot more new information. As ready as you can be. It's all you can do. Yeah. Work all year long to try to be ready.
Yeah.
Consider your fueling options. I did have someone reach out to me on text message, a friend, and we were kind of going over like fueling and stuff for the marathon, and talking about how they probably like for the marathon like need to fuel more.
Once I started like giving myself more frequent fuel and like I don't know why, like I felt like always tried to like stretch it or whatever. Once I started like giving myself fuel more often, it really does help, especially when you get into the marathon distance. Um,
Yeah. Well,
bring more than you think you need. Because you might
for
drop it.
sure.
And then
I did that once.
I've also done that. And I've also given it to people. I was running next to a lady at the rock and roll half, and I think we were at like 4 or 5, and she was right next to me. She's like, "Do you know like if they give out anything on the course fueling wise?" And I was like, "I think they do, but not until like mile 10." She's like, "Oh, I'm struggling," and so I was like, "Hey, take this, please, please use this." So I was glad. Yeah, I do about 30 minutes, 35 minutes now.
Yep. All right. So, why don't we talk about Disneyland a little bit here? So, I think one of the big things was up until last week,
Where is
we
the
didn't know
expo?
where the expo was.
We had an
And
idea of where the expo would be, but we didn't know for sure.
yes, so Expo is at the Disneyland Resort, the Disneyland Convention Center there. One thing to note is they want you to park at Pixar Pals if you are someone who's going to be driving there, and it does cost $10 to park, and you need to have your Expo pass to get the $10 rate. Otherwise, it's some other.
I think it's $35 if you don't. I feel like that's like through the grapevine.
Yeah, so just something to consider, and I believe there is a little bit of a walk from that parking lot to the Expo. But Expo then is at Disneyland Hotel there. It is basically one building, 2 floors, an upper level and a lower level. I have the upper level right here. This is where you're going to go through your bib pickup. Obviously, we're not sure what like the capacity of this race is going to look like. So I really can't speak to what, this crowd situation is going to be, but it does look like it's going to be a smaller setup overall. We don't have the sprawling buildings of ESPN to work with. And also, I've never done a Disneyland race in general, so I can really only conjecture.
I don't remember too much about it, to be honest. I remember being there and looking through everything.
Yep, but the upper floor here is your bib pickup. And also, your runner's relation and all of that. Pretty standard there. Won't spend too much time. Lower level, though, is everything else. They are doing a virtual queue to get into the Run Disney merchandise. You can see they have a virtual queue return room on the side there. One thing we did note, or we did see, is they haven't released like the actual names or locations of all of the vendors yet for either race weekends. Typically that is included in this expo guide here. So no clue who is going to be there, but yeah, this whole lower section here, race shirts on the left, pre-purchase merchandise has its own section there, which is kind of nice. The Run Disney Showcase, that's where they're going to show you the medals and all of that stuff. Which we'll probably have just seen at Walt Disney World weekend. Probably won't be too many changes within that.
Sure.
And then you'll have the expo hall, and basically you have to like go all the way across the expo hall to get into that virtual queue return area.
Right.
And then from there, the Run Disney like merchandise section looks to be all the way in the back of that room there. Again, really like not a whole lot more information I can give you until we like really go in there and experience it and see what that's gonna actually look like.
Yep.
And then of course, we have this whole course situation on Disney Way.
Well, we're not running the 5K.
We're not.
5K is not on Disney Way. That is.
No, it is not. 5K is
Really
actually
cool.
starting. I have that, I think, on the next slide
Yeah.
here. Nope. 2 slides from now. This is the 5K course. We're running pretty long, so we'll try to go through some of this pretty quickly. This is really cool because you are starting like on Main Street, it looks like.
How iconic is that?
Yeah, and you're doing some Disneyland park time, then out and around. No clue why these lines are dotted. I couldn't tell you, but both courses that run that section, the lines are dotted there. Don't know what's going on with that. Hopefully that's not some like weird traffic situation.
That's what I'm thinking, is it's some kind of pedestrian or traffic thing, but
super weird. But then you go in and you're doing some areas around through California Adventure there, and then you finish in California Adventure. They did say
You
spectator-wise,
can go into California.
yes, between the Earl of Sandwich, or right to the side of Earl of Sandwich, they're gonna have that one like back entrance open, and they'll let you go in to watch the finish area, which I think that is pretty cool.
Yeah, and if the jet lag prevails and I am awake at that point, I may go to the 5K finish because we're there. We're right there.
Yeah,
Just
no,
walk
I
on
mean,
over.
yeah, not a lot of reason for us not to go and check it out. That might be kind of
Be
cool.
cool.
But yeah, so pretty cool course for the 5K. Like the whole starting inside the park is pretty cool. So to get to the race start, you will obviously go to the actual entrance to Disneyland there. That is what they want you to do there.
Yeah.
But then going back to Disney Way, this is going to be the course setup for both the half marathon and the 10K. I did just take the one from the half marathon because the only difference is the added corrals. This will be the start situation. This is honestly like pretty conventional start situation for like even like more modern races. You know, Run Disney's really the only place we've been where they like put you into these sections that aren't pre-lined up.
Yeah.
This
This is what we wish Walt Disney World was, just everyone in a line.
Yep.
So much easier.
Yeah, and what's interesting too here is there's 2 event entryways. I know someone had asked, they were staying at the hotel that I believe is actually literally
hotel,
shaded
I
to the
believe.
left on it when I looked. They asked, you know, do we think we're going to have to go around the block or what's the situation? I mean, there's an entry there. I would hope that they would leave at least a sidewalk you could walk along the corral
Yeah.
situation to get to.
I think the where it says corrals A to D, that yellow bit, I feel like that is not going to be a walkway because that's going to be how you get into those corrals. But the other side, like the bottom of the green line, I think that might be open. So you can walk that way, enter where it says event entry on the bottom, and then
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
have to
It's-
walk all the way over there. It's kind of weird. It's going to be really hard to know until
Yes.
we see
And
inside.
we should note too, I've never seen this parking lot, but the way it looks, this is probably going to be a lot smaller of a situation than what we work with at Walt Disney World, which I mean, I think that's pretty on brand for Disneyland races.
Yeah, I mean they don't have as much big
Space to work with.
room.
Also, there is no like beer and beverage tent.
Shuttle drop off depending on time they may stop runners. Ooh.
Oh, thank you. That is very
Interesting.
interesting.
But very helpful because
Yeah.
I've had several people ask me that question.
Depending on the time, they may stop runners. That is interesting. So something to just be prepared for because I think we'll see that. We see that in the 10K as well. But yeah, anyways, there is no food or beverage section at this actual starting finish area. They did note that there's certain places in Disney or downtown Disney that's going to be open early. Some of those places open as early as 4 a.m.
Speculation run train crossings, but knowing like I've been to that area before, that makes sense. That does make sense. So
Yep.
we'll see.
And then there is like a food and beverage thing at the Disneyland Hotel that also opens up at 4 a.m., which is quite the hike
Yeah.
to go and, you know, try to grab your post-race beer. So that is interesting. They do still have the stage kind of in that same kind of back area. I would expect that would probably be around if they have character photos and stuff where that would all take place as well. And then this one just changes what the finish section looks like and just says you're coming in, you're making a right, and you're finishing, basically. It shows you where there would be medical, where spectators can go.
So the finish line is actually okay. I see. It's actually in that parking lot. Okay.
Yes.
I see
Yeah,
now.
you are finishing in the parking lot there.
Okay.
And that is really all I have. Again, that's really going to be kind of show up and find out how this is really going to work, what it's going to look like. We talked about the 5K. We have the 10K course here. And 10K course is, I think, kind of everyone's highlight course for Disneyland Race Weekend because you get quite a bit of park time.
Both of the parks.
Yep. Yep. So you do start and you do go kind of around the backside of California Adventure and you get in the park about mile like 1.5. Wendy said she's going to be out there for the 10K and a half to cheer y'all on.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know you'd be out there.
Yep.
Are
And
you, Wendy, are you running the 5K? Let me know. I will cheer for you at the end of the 5K. If
But
I'm
yeah.
awake.
you get in the park, you really do. You get a really like good solid portion around California Adventure here. Looks like down the Cars
Oh,
Land.
we get to go through San Francisco. I haven't seen it. We might see it before we actually run it, but I still haven't seen it yet.
She lives down the street, she said.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you lived there. That's cool.
Yeah. We might. I'm not 100% sure just because I'm not as familiar with the layout of this park.
Yeah.
But I mean, you go down through Pixar Pier there, out and around what's like the Redwood area.
Grizzly bear. No.
Something like, yeah. Around where Soren is.
Where the wood thing and that scary like jungle gym is.
Scary Jungle Gym. That was fun when we did that, the adventure course. And then you run right across the Esplanade there and right into Main Street.
Cool.
Yep, you go.
That'll be a good place for cheering.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much
for
your
sure.
only place for cheering, really, if you're not at the finish, I guess.
Well, there is a lot of like road though. Like there's sections
Yeah, you're right.
where some of these sidewalks probably still have to be like open.
Yeah, that's true. Redwood Creek Trail. We have an expert.
Thank
in
you,
our
Wendy.
midst.
But yeah, and then different from Walt Disney World, you're hanging a left and you're going to swing into Adventureland right away and run kind of all the way along that backside. And you're going to go into Galaxy's Edge, and you run pretty much along that whole section of Galaxy's Edge there. That'll look pretty similar to kind of what we've seen at Walt Disney World. Again, you're not going to really get to go by like the Millennium Falcon or anything in there. But then you come out and you're going around Adventureland there. And then in and through the castle, I believe is what that is showing.
So you go through the front of the castle.
Yep, through the
into
front.
Fantasyland.
Into Fantasyland. And you swing back out around. Basically, you're going around where like Alice and stuff is. And you're swinging around into Tomorrowland then. You do a little bit through Tomorrowland, out by the submarine in Matterhorn. And then back, it looks like this takes you out kind of around where Toontown is.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And then out the backside there. And then I believe this is all like service road where mile 5 is. And then you're just kind of along the sidewalk here for this last mile.
That's Harbor, right?
I don't remember.
I believe it is.
I've never really been on that side.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's Harbor.
And then you cut that left turn into the finish there.
Yeah. I'm so excited for this course. I think it's so cool. I remember when I did the half in 15. I don't know if I saw this course, but it was really, I think it was a similar situation where you had like so much park time. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have the half marathon course. Honestly, we'll talk more about the first half of this because I really couldn't tell you what to expect with any of this back half. I mean, lots of highway and roads.
It's kind of like running your typical city.
Yeah, a more
city
standard,
marathon.
city or town half marathon here.
Yeah.
But you're starting out and pretty actually similar to the 10K here.
I think the California Adventure version is
all
the same.
pretty much the same here, where you're running all through California Adventure. Disneyland section.
Yeah, I think I've heard that there's a
Monster truck rally
happening right now. Or then.
But yeah, and then once you get into Disneyland here, you are cutting the right and going around the Tomorrowland area, around Fantasyland, and then back out through the castle the other side. So you're getting kind of both ways of the castle if you're doing the challenge there. And then around Adventureland, around Galaxy's Edge there, and then back out the side, and you are going down, I think, service roads again here till you get to mile 5. And then we've got kind of this big, zigzag of running up and down different roads here, different highways, all the way around. Pretty much the rest of the race.
Yep.
I don't really, like I said, I don't know what to expect here. I know, Kate, you've said in the past that there's been like classic cars out and like
Yeah, they
kind of
had
communities doing some stuff.
yeah, it was more like bands, the car club. Someone commented like that the 501st like in California would come out. I don't remember that, but it's very likely they were there and I just forgot. So it's more like typical city half marathon type things that you see out there. Good to know.
It says Santa Ana River portion is a little hilly,
Where is that? Oh,
right
that
on
bit.
that
Oh,
side.
that makes sense.
I'm kind of okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with a little bit of elevation in that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I guess typically like these ones don't have an elevation map like the Walt Disney World map did.
Oh, that's interesting.
Unless I cut it off on my slide, which is
I'll have
very
to go
possible.
look at it. But yeah, and then you've done a half marathon, and for a good bit of people, you've done a
Many half
lot of running,
marathons,
a
a lot
lot
of
of
running.
running in week's time. But it's gonna be so fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't. Oh
What?
yeah, go for it.
I don't remember what I was gonna say. So
Oh,
please.
I was gonna say one thing we do have new this weekend is the kids races are coming back, and the kids races are all pretty much self-contained to that uh, Disney Way parking lot there. Looks like they're getting to go through like the same finish, which is kind of cool.
Fun.
Yeah,
I know some people were like, "Oh, the kids' races are just in a parking lot, blah blah blah." But getting able to run through like the same finish line that
yeah,
everyone
like the
else
big
does,
real
that's
finish.
really cool because that's not how they were at ESPN. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's. Sorry. Getting sleepy here. But yeah, and it looks like it's all just like they have them all on the same course there, whether they're running 200, the 100, or the 300 meter there. You kind of drop them off by that kids entry, and then there's a reunion area on the other side there. So that's pretty interesting. I've never really seen like any of the kids race
Yeah, I've
stuff
never seen them
happen.
before.
Obviously, this is the first one that we've seen come back, so it's really the first one we've had in many, many years.
Yeah. Well then.
But yeah, that kind of brings us full circle into our coast to coast here. You know, hopefully you've run your halves or dopies and challenges on both coasts, and you've got a whole collection of cool
Medals.
medals to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking forward to both of these weekends. I think we mentioned it on our last show. We are having a meetup on Saturday, the 13th. That is at the Palm Breeze Bar, which is at Disneyland Hotel. And that was, did I say 2 or 3 p.m.? I think 2 p.m.
2 p.m. sounds right. Let me.
But yes, there is an event on Facebook for it. If you are on Facebook and you follow us, we would appreciate you going and just, even noting that you're going or interested, just so we have an idea of who to expect.
Yep. 2 p.m.
2
at the
p.m.
Palm Breeze
Perfect.
Bar.
And that's very much just like, drop in, drop out. We'll hang out for a couple hours there. Just have a good time meeting everyone. And we do, hope you can make it if you're going to be there. Come and hang out and have a good time.
Well, I think we've talked a lot.
We have talked quite a bit.
We're excited.
Yep. Did we have any Disneyland questions?
I think it was just the
didn't
one about
answer?
the hotel. I think that was the only question we had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And we fortunately don't have a perfect answer for you there, but I think you'll be able to go and do that.
Yep. I would say probably good. You might be able to ask that question at the expo, so you don't have to like wait and find out morning of.
That is
Might be a good
probably a
idea.
good thing to do.
So you can map out your route.
John, Merry Christmas. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely.
But I think that is gonna do it. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you're running Dopey or your first marathon or even your first half marathon in one of
your
these coming
first
2 weeks,
10K.
5K, 10K, good luck to you. Hope training's gone well. We are really looking. Do we know the electrolytes or gels on the course? Looking forward to all the happy running, happy holidays.
I can tell you.
It's been sports beans, right?
That's usually what it is. Yeah.
I would expect that to be the same.
And then-
Although marathon, you'll typically get the bananas and the chocolate as well. bananas are at 2 points, right? Or 1 point?
2.
And then chocolate is usually towards the end, like right when you get in Hollywood. The bananas are usually right after Animal Kingdom and at one other point that I cannot remember. Audrey said, thank you, super helpful. We do appreciate that. Like I said, we'll be hanging out after the half marathon at Walt Disney World for sure. Kind of meeting and having a good time. And then at Disneyland, we have the meetup. But we'll be around at the finishes for both maybe all 3 races potentially. We might get up and go and check out what that finish situation looks like for the
that
5K.
might be fun. It starts at 5. We'll probably honestly be awake because of the time change.
That tends to be on brand for us. But, all right. Well, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that fun YouTube-y stuff. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.